All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to the National Museum of Women in the Arts. I'm Kelly Daly, I'm the Director of Public Programs, and I thank you all for coming to tonight's powerful conversation. We are so excited to welcome internationally acclaimed South African visual activist Zanele Muholi in conversation with writer and scholar Dr. Mecca Jamilah Sullivan. We are thrilled to present this evening in celebration of World Pride in partnership with Tara Ora of Blind Seed LLC. Tonight's conversation honors and amplifies the work of artists and thinkers who are shifting how we see, how we remember, and how we imagine the future. At NIMWA, we are proud to advance these kinds of dialogues through our Women Arts and Social Change Initiative, a public program series that highlights the power of art to spark change and shape culture. This program is a part of that series, and I invite you to return for 2 more incredible events this June. On June 11th, we'll host our signature program, Fresh Talk, and this program will focus on gender and performance. It will feature 4 phenomenal drag artists who are exploring their craft to challenge societal norms, foster inclusive communities, and redefine artistic expression. On June 22nd, we invite you back for an Artist in Conversation program with Allison Sarr. The talk will explore Sarr's collaboration with Arion Press, the last printer in the United States to make books entirely by hand, to create a new edition of Octavia Butler's Kindred as a contemporary artist book. Tonight's program centers on the brilliance and legacy of Zanele Muholi, a visual activist whose arresting self-portraits and photographic work have reshaped how we see Black, queer, and trans lives. For over a decade, Muholi has documented the lives of Black LGBTQI+ individuals in South Africa, forging a visual archive that resists erasure and celebrates resilience. Their work is deeply rooted in activism and storytelling, and we are honored to hold one of Muholi's photographs in the NIMWA collection. While that work is currently resting, as photographs most periodically do, we remain proud stewards of it and are proud to celebrate Muholi's ongoing impact with the release of Somnyama Ngonyama, Volume 2. Muholi, help me. We're also honored to be joined by Dr. Mecca Jamilah Sullivan, a celebrated author, scholar, and professor at Georgetown University, whose work spans fiction, literary criticism, and cultural theory. Whether through her award-winning novel Big Girl, her short story collection Blue Talk and Love, or her groundbreaking scholarly work The Poetics of Difference, Queer Feminist Forms in the African Diaspora, Dr. Sullivan brings critical depth and poetic insight to conversations about Black queer identity, embodiment, and representation. Together, Muholi and Sullivan offer powerful lenses through which to understand art, literature, and activism, and we are so grateful for both of them for being here this evening. Thank you all for joining us. After the conversation, we invite you to stay for a book signing. Books by both speakers will be available for purchase. I now welcome Tara Ora to the stage for an intention setting before we begin the conversation. Tara.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. It is such a pleasure to be in community here. Calling in an opportunity to gather for creative, inclusive community building in the spirit of well-being is my specialty. So I'd like to give us a chance to sort of shake off whatever we're coming in with to be a little bit more fully present, if that sounds good. And if you feel comfortable, start to find some symmetry in your body. If your legs are crossed, maybe uncross them. Let yourself sit up a little taller, let your shoulders fall back and down, and start to let your eyes float closed, letting the top lid start to rest on the bottom lid. Start to notice the air around you becoming breath. Notice its temperature along the roof of your mouth and in the back of your throat. And breathe in a little deeper into your heart. Exhaling, let your heart sink safely back into your body. Breathe a little now into your back, the space behind your heart. And exhaling, let your rib cage close, protecting all these miracles happening in your body right now. Breathe into your belly, let it expand and soften between your thighs. And next, breathe into your lower back, your kidney space, the bottom of your lungs. Now, all at once, breathing into your belly, into your back, into your heart, and up through your head to hold it at the top there. Soften your shoulders, sip in a little more air. And then open your mouth to sigh it out. Yes, drop into your body, drop into your breath. Let yourself root down through your heels and take a moment to connect to the earth beneath you. Feel yourself received and supported by an entire planet. The earth. Constantly supporting you, every intention, every step, every breath, literally breathing life into you. Now take a moment to acknowledge your reason for being here today. Can you give yourself permission to shape how this evening goes? How you receive it? What can you soften? What can you release? What can the earth hold for you today? Whatever it is, drop it down. Let it go. To make space for your intention. We stand on occupied, unceded territory. The ancestral homeland of the Nakontek people, whose descendants belong to the Piscataway people. And furthermore, the foundation of this city and most of the original buildings in the region were funded by the sale of enslaved people of African descent and built by their hands. We acknowledge them, and we're grateful. However you're arriving today, you're good. You belong here. And I invite you to breathe into the person you'd like to be or become. And then exhale, letting that last breath carry you and your intention farther and farther still out into the universe. Calling in the spirit of our descendants and our futures by blood, but also those from a spiritual or intellectual lineage. Those who will know love and courage and pride. Those who will remember you. The lives you've already touched. The ones who will know care and creativity. The ones who will know rest. Calling in our descendants. Those who will know extensive, expansive circles of care. Those who will redefine what it is to be Black, what it is to be queer, what it is to be changing, what it is to be creative in their own time and space. We welcome these energies to be our guiding lights and our North Star today. Order our steps in the direction of liberation and help us listen to our hearts and find inspiration. Welcome. You can begin to flicker and flutter your eyes back open. Thank yourself for being here today. And with that, I would love to invite Mecca and Zanele up to the stage.
What a beautiful intention setting. What a beautiful set of introductions. Friend, I'm so happy to be here with you in celebration of World Pride DC, and of course in celebration of this latest print installation or print introduction of Somnyama Ngonyama, Hail the Dark Lioness. So I thought we'd just sort of begin by establishing a little bit of the context of your work. We've been talking about this kind of, for the last couple of weeks, in fact, right? And before I do that, though, I guess I should say there are a number of people to thank, and maybe we'll start with that. Thank you so much, Tara, for that phenomenal introduction, and also to Tara Ora for being kind of the heart and the glue and the engine of this gathering. Thanks to Kelly, to Gabrielle, to the entire staff at the National Museum of Women in the Arts. And again, thank you to you, Zanele, for being here. I also wanted to thank Lanisa Kitchener and Monty Harris, whose work has sort of helped bring us together. And so, yeah, thinking about the context of your work, the context in which we're gathered here, right? It's World Pride, it's Washington, D.C., and we're bringing in Pride together, but we've been talking about the extent to which Pride is not just about a party or a celebration, right? Pride is also an opportunity to gather in power, in resistance, in dissent, and in creative vision, and thinking about how all of those things are actually connected and are all always already part of what Pride can be, and maybe what Pride needs to be, especially right now in Washington, D.C., and on a global scale in 2025. So it makes me think about our ongoing conversations about the power of creative vision and about your idea of visual activism, and you have identified as a visual activist for a long time. I wonder if we could start by you sort of saying a little bit about what visual activism means to you, whether your idea of visual activism has shifted or expanded or changed over the years, and what should we be taking away from this idea of visual activism in 2025?
Thank you. Good evening. May I please request for the light? I just have an eye condition, so this is like too much. Please. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Also, it just helps with these black images at the back. Yeah, the minute there's too much light, it just compromises the color black. Thank you so much. Thank you for bringing me here to the National Museum of Women in the Arts. I never thought that I'd set my foot here because I've never been invited. So I'm so happy that you managed to get me from next door. I happened to be in LA, and Mecca said, "Oh, now that you are here, would you consider coming here?" And I said, because it's not going to be long, like traveling from South Africa to the US. I mean, it's far. US is so far away. So I come from LA, where I'm currently working on Faces and Phases, which is this project. The project is turning 20 next year. I'm so excited. Because now it involves a lot of our people from different places, Africans in the diaspora, and they are UK-based Africans who left their countries because of prejudice and also backlash and displacement in their own countries. There are also Africans who are born here, who have found this place called America a home for many reasons, and others are third or fourth generations of Africans living abroad. Yeah. About to declare, my first language is Zulu, and I register information in my first language, which is Zulu. And then Mecca's writing has to do with the mother tongue. In case you don't hear me, please stop me, because I might be thinking in my own language. Yeah, sure, no problem. About this, about visual activism, really. When you are an artist, they say you are in the visual arts. When you are an activist, then I say you are a visual activist. And it's basically about pushing a political, gender and queer agenda to make sure that it's part and parcel of this ongoing or daily language. So I just removed the arts, because anyway, most people don't take art serious. So I come from a space where if I said to my sisters, I'm so focused on arts, they will think that I'm joking, because where will you get the job? Sometimes art is not taken serious, you know. So I wanted to have this understanding or create my own world in which I envision a future that is not yet scripted. I couldn't talk too much because I thought that even if I said something, it would have fallen into deaf ears. I wanted to create an archive, a Black, queer, and trans archive that spoke to me as a person who did not have a reference point when I came out. It's as simple as that. I worked as an activist all my life, just to say that activism is work. Activism hurts, activism breaks hearts, activism, affects our health in so many ways. So in my activist world, there weren't many spaces that were open to someone who wanted to showcase art projects or to showcase, I'll say, creative works. People were pushing the agenda, the struggle is real. In the streets of Johannesburg, protesting for our rights to be heard, to be seen, to be recognized and respected. But then it's one thing to have like 100 people marching without having 50 people documenting those marches. It's one thing to have 100 people marching and at the end of the day, there is no preservation of that march that day. Even if there is a preservation of that content, of that protest, of that pride, of that march, it doesn't belong to us. We don't own it. And also it's something else, if we keep on protesting without resources and equipment to ensure that there is an archive that speaks to our visuality, that speaks to our gender, that speaks to our sexuality. So I started documenting hectically, because then it just didn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense. So it meant that most of what I started working on wasn't funded, it wasn't resourced, because then I was a deviant within the same community that is often overlooked at as something else. I started working on my own archive without any reference point. So this is what I call visual activism. It basically means that I'm producing these visuals to speak on politics of our existence, to speak on politics of our resistance, to speak on politics of recognition. Because in my headspace, they say if it's not documented, it never existed. And if I keep on saying that we are here, we cannot always live as dead bodies. We cannot only be recognized when one of us has been butchered, dismembered, and violated. Most images of us, especially from South Africa where I come, they're of like obituaries of dead lesbian bodies who become like hate crime victims. So then I just thought it's very important for us to be known and to be seen while we are still alive. So what is this visual activism now? That's just that visual and activism that equals to visual activism. It's as basic as that. There's nothing beyond that. You have visual plus art, it's equal to visual art. Visual plus activism, it's equal to visual activism. Visual plus activist, it's equal to visual activist. That's the person I am.
And yet you've laid out so powerfully how, although the idea is kind of self-explanatory, it's also deeply radical and profound because, as you point out, a lot of people don't take art seriously, right? And so the idea that art can be activism, that art does have power. You've said in interviews that you use your art to change the world. And that's, of course, a kind of bold, important statement that we all need to take seriously, right? So the activism in visual activism is something that's profound and powerful, even as it's clear and direct. And I ask about that at the beginning of our conversation, partly because, again, when we think about gathering for Pride, often we think of the idea of either celebration or mourning, right? And I think you've kind of, referred to that in your description just now of how visual activism starts for you, that either we're thinking of Pride as a party or Pride as a funeral in a certain sense. And I think maybe part of what's missing in that is Pride as a space for powerful gathering toward change, right? Powerful gathering that's about a march, but maybe also about creating art. A lot of us are artists, are activists in the room, and might be thinking about, well, where is the power in our writing, in our dancing, in our loving, in our parenting, right? Like, where is the political power in the work that we do? And as you mentioned, part of why we're gathered here is because we were kind of just, kicking it on WhatsApp a few weeks ago, and you mentioned you were in LA, and I was like, oh, when are you coming through DC? And you had said you wanted to be here for World Pride DC. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about why, what's important about having this conversation here in this space right now. It's Pride, but it's World Pride, and I know that that's important to you. And of course, we're here in Washington, D.C., the seat of this nation's power, and therefore, through forces of colonialism and imperialism, the seat of global power to a certain degree. And here we are talking about the power of imagining Black queer bodies. Why is that important? Why does that matter to you right now?
It is harsh and hot in America now. And most people who are LGBTQIA plus people could speak for themselves. And also to say that, what is pride anyways?
Yeah.
What is pride at this time? Who is proud of what at this period? A period of backlash, a period of backstabbing, a period of harshness, a period of brutality, a period of erasure, a period of all the wrong things, a period of fear. And maybe it's only Beyonce who talk about being fierce at this stage. A period of many things that we think that we have dealt with as a people. A period of apartheid in America.
Absolutely, that's it.
A period of hate, where people have to deal with hate speech on a daily basis in this country. So we can't pretend as if it's not happening. It is happening here. It happened before, except that it was a little bit subtle.
Exactly.
Now it's blatant. It's in your face. So I just feel sorry for the mothers who are feeling this heat but cannot say anything because they think that it will compromise their jobs. I feel sorry for teachers, educators who have tried to make sure that the classroom is integrated and somebody then decide to disintegrate. It's a really, really harsh period. And then the World Pride, I don't even know what these things are all about anymore, because I've been an activist for so long when I did not understand what was this activism was all about until I just found a niche of like dealing with it in a way that makes sense to me. So we need to collaborate. We need to come together. We need to speak in volumes. We need to use every space that is there to be to ensure that our voices are heard. We need the galleries. We need the museums. We need to occupy the spaces and speak in volumes. We need to turn these museums into conference spaces in order for queer creatives and trans creatives to get it, to know that they belong in these spaces. Because then when activists speak, they speak alone. Like at this World Pride, there'll be human rights conference. And then the artists, they speak with the other artists. But then there is no connections. There is no unity. We lack humanity. And yet we all say we care. So imagine if we were to bring the World Pride Human Rights Conference at the museums. It will mean that a lot of people who are non-converted get the understanding or a feel of the other world that they are not familiar with. Then we take artists to every activist spaces, every conference spaces, every business conference spaces. Let us filter in those spaces without feeling that we are creatives and that doctors at the conference won't take us serious, that teachers at their conference won't take us serious, that nurses at their conference won't take us serious. There's a whole lot of divisions. So I think that we need to have an understanding of what unity, solidarity means, because we depend on doctors to perform different operations, gender, reconstruction, whatever surgeries. Those doctors won't do justice if they don't understand the queer and trans bodies. If we don't speak to gynecologists, those doctors won't have an understanding if they are not taught basic terms of who we are. And also, we need our own queer and trans doctors to be part of these settings in order for the other colleagues who are transphobic and lesbophobic and xenophobic and everything phobic to get it right, you know. So I think it's more about relearning a lot of things, and also I'm frustrated right now as I speak about this anyways. Yeah, so we need each other basically, yeah, to say that this space, let's say, this is now my world, my queer world. 4 months of the year, we have WMA or NMW, etc. We'll have queer and trans exhibitions 25% of the year. So we come with our collaborators, we filter at the gallery. Then we have a conference of doctors, a conference of teachers. We work alongside the museum at those conferences to make sure that we have a stand or some exhibits in those heterosexualized spaces and bring our voices there. Because of those conferences, there is one or two of us. If not, somebody has a friend or has a child that is queer. So it shouldn't be about us, you know, having people thinking that they are doing us favors because our existence pay taxes. Our existence pay bills. Our existence is a job for other people. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely, and especially when we think about Black queer culture in the African diaspora, right? Not only does our existence pay taxes, pay bills, but it creates the possibility for all of the art in the world, arguably. And so to have that recognized in these institutional spaces is crucial. And I love that you're thinking about this as something that requires collaboration. You know, we first met at the Black Bodies, Queer Bodies Symposium in Durban, or at the planning for the Black Bodies, Queer Bodies Symposium in Durban in 2015, so 10 years ago. And that was a beautifully collaborative space, right? It brought together artists, activists, academics, creative writers, and in a kind of vision that's similar to the one that you're describing, we were all sort of together thinking about what it means to imagine, to contest, to sort of define and redefine Black queer embodiment in a global diasporic context. And as I was thinking about, you know, sort of bringing Somnyama Ngonyama to DC for this launch, this is the first event that you've done for the book, right, in DC, which is an exciting moment. I'm thinking about how the collection is also kind of collaborative in the sense that you're involving. So it's based in photography, and you're seeing a number of those images projected behind us. But interspersed between and among these images, we have poems, we have interviews, there's sort of prose text, sort of prose poem text by a range of Black queer diaspora artists. And so I wanted to sort of ask you to talk a bit about the vision for Somnyama Ngonyama, and do you see that as a kind of collaborative project? And if so, how does that connect with your idea of visual activism?
Somnyama Ngonyama is the project that you sing at the back, and then I have 2 publications here. I'm working on the 3rd publication, and I finance for my own movements, because then I don't qualify for any funding. It's nice. It basically says, if you are a creative in the house and you have a dream or a vision or an idea, just execute it. Do not wait for anyone to define you, because it will mean that you never realize your dream if you are waiting for someone to fund your project. And also to say that it will mean that you have full ownership of your voice, or of your project if you just like take off. And then your takeoff will be like your perfect landing, where you find peace and say, I've made it. You know? Yeah. Somnyama. Somnyama Ngonyama is the dark one, the black one. When I was young, I was so dark than my friends, and they used to scorn me a lot, and I'd cry because then I did not understand why they made fun of me. And that remained with me for the longest time. And then Ngonyama is my mother's clan name. That's where the name Somnyama Ngonyama. And also I wanted to embrace the language that I learned. Once upon a time, I've been rejected a lot in my life, and for every rejection, it kind of like shapes me. One of the best scholars in the US produced a beautiful book on people. And then I thought I was going to be invited, and I wasn't invited. And then I said to myself, I'll make my own book.
That's right.
But that's one story of Somnyama. 2-3 steps away, my mom passed in 2009. She was a beautiful woman. So as I photograph other people, I always think of this beautiful human being that made me, that influenced me, that shaped me, that gave birth to me. And I'm thinking, she was a domestic worker. And I'm thinking, I've never seen a photo book that penned the life of domestic workers, where we have the before and after pictures before they became slaves for other systems. But they had to work at the end of the day because they had to fend for most of us. So I kind of like going back and forth to my mom. And every space that I occupy, every city that I travel to, I know that her spirit is with me. So when I produce these images, I think of her a lot. The objects that I use in these images, some of them is what she used in her daily work, you know. I mean, whatever that is trash, she managed to shape things. She was a good welder, not by profession, because my father, who was a tradesman, who was a migrant worker in South Africa from Malawi, taught her how to fix plumber stoves. So she'll do all these things. And later on in life, as I look at other artists' work, and I'm like thinking, my mom was an artist, but wasn't validated or seen as an artist. All we knew is that she was fixing things. And she'd juggle between her work as a helper or a domestic worker and fixing this plumber stove just for extra money. She used to bet horses, and when she wins some money, and she'll bring like a sack of oranges. And we had to consume that within a week's time. When she lost, she'll bring maybe 2 apples and cut them into 16, just for us to be able to have a piece of apple, like amongst all of us. So I have all these memories of my mom in many ways. Then I started working on this with the image on both covers. The Afro combs, you know, means a lot, because that's the comb that we had at home. Once your hair reaches the Afro comb, we had to cut our hair, because it would mean, you know, rebelling. And for most of us who went to Bantu schools anyways, long hair was not right. According to the system, you had to cut chiskop. Then I produced other images with pencils that spoke to pencil testing, which was an apartheid system that classified people according to their race. Then it became a political issue in everything that I touched, that I used in most of these black images. So Somnyama Ngonyama is basically about that visual that speaks to politics of race, in which I visualize my daily, using every scrap of anything to make sense of my surroundings or of my living. From blankets to bottle of water to spoons, to anything and everything that you use also on daily basis, but you might not like take it serious, from cable ties to anything and everything. Then when the book came out, I work with Renee, who's a good friend. She's a scholar. She teaches at University of London, currently finishing her Ph.D. She's this person who understands my issues, my frustrations, my anything and everything. And I'll take a picture and send it to her. She writes or will stop and discuss it, you know? And she said, this is what I think you mean, da 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 da. And she said, check the reference of so and so. So we've been working like that for more than 10 years now. And she happened to be the editor of these books. And the books are published by Aperture, which is a house in New York. Yeah, so I could say most of what I do has been based on collaborations. I even see the object that I work with as part of my collaboration because they were produced by someone. They were touched by somebody's hands, whether that person got paid or not, but then the fact that they were able to create something which then makes sense to the next person, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's basically about my own issues. This project is really issue-based. It's just personal in many ways, yeah.
And yet you've said, first of all, you shared how collaboration and also storytelling seem to be a really important part of your creative process, especially with Somnyama Ngonyama, the story of your mother, the story of the objects that you're photographing yourself with, right? That sort of speaks to the context.
Can you see the image?
Yeah.
I don't think that this light needs to be on. I'm so sorry. Can you please forgive me? This light needs to be off. Thanks. So people will feel the
Can really,
brightness.
yeah. And I want, it's true, because I'll ask a few questions about the kind of specific aesthetics and the color and the contrast in a second. But yeah, if you could talk a little bit about just self-portraiture, right? You know, you're giving us this vision of self-portraiture. You said it's your issues, it's personal, and it is, of course. And yet, there's also this abiding sense that it is beyond the personal, it's political and personal at the same time. You've said that you see the series, the aim of the series is to undo racism in mainstream media and mainstream spaces by allowing those who are like me to get to see themselves in these spaces. Earlier today, we were talking about sort of the question of who are the people in the photographs. And even in these photographs, it's your body that's pictured, right? But the idea is that many others can see themselves in your body in these spaces, and that's what you said. So I wonder if you could say a little bit more about how that works for you. Why self-portraiture as a way of sort of allowing others like us, like you, to see themselves? How does the image of your body allow that to happen?
Okay. For the longest time, I photographed many individuals who are members of our community, in which I spoke as an insider, not as an outside person. So the people who are in my photographs are participants because they partake in this ongoing project that oftentimes become a subject or a study for many individuals or scholars. That's done. I've done it. I think it's parallel with many other things that other people were doing. There's a professor of an art historian. His name is Rael Sally, who teaches here in Baltimore, and he's done a beautiful chapter on how this thing goes about for some people who are writing or some people who are studying visual arts degrees or art historian. So I photograph people tirelessly. I photograph weddings, I photograph funerals, I photograph graduation parties, I photographed different community functions. And then as I got to showcase these projects in various places, I wasn't traveling with people much, you know, even though I have managed to travel. It's still on, Beth. Thanks. And as I travel with those individuals, it wasn't enough because there were a lot of things going back at home, a lot of events, a lot of functions, etc., etc. Then now, as I traveled to other places, I didn't get to photograph as many people as possible. So it meant that I woke up with myself, I slept with myself, there was nobody to photograph. And photographing spaces that were unfamiliar was kind of like unnerving because I didn't know how to approach new friends or activists in different places. I think it took much, to maybe request like how I do when I'm at home. It's coming all right, off it completely, thank you. Sure, it's better. Yeah, as long as it's out completely. So as I move, like here, I'm here. For me to be able to photograph people for faces and faces, I have to depend on Tara and I have to depend on you. And whereas at home, we kind of like know each other. Because it's either I photograph a friend of a friend, or I photograph somebody's friend's ex, or I'll photograph an ex of an ex and exes. Then we become that community.
Community, right? That's what our communities look like.
It's community work. And also other people are members of already existing non-profit organizations that we get to photograph in this way. Then now, Somnyama. I know myself better. There are part of my body that I don't like. We all have, no matter how beautiful you can say you are. There's a thing that you don't find it perfect. So I wanted to deal with those imperfections. Somebody said, Ed Sheeran. So as I move in between spaces, sometimes my eyes will be puffy, sometimes I'll feel like wrong, but I'll still be loving me because then nobody could tell me that I love you better than me.
That's it.
So it's been one of those things in which I just wanted to question, to release, to critique myself, to love and unlove myself, to want and unwant me, all those things that happens when we wake up in the morning, I could photograph in any situation, my body, Sometimes you wake up and you are bloated, and then you have to hold it, stomach in, because you want people to see a perfect picture. Tough. It is like that.
Or you could just let it out, know?
It's hard, It's hard. It's hard to deal with constipation. It's hard to deal with many things. I mean, those people who photograph themselves will tell you about uneasiness of photographing yourself. And oftentimes there's no one to say, let's work on your makeup now so that you'll be proper. There's no proper shit, nothing. It's just me. Yeah. And when you see the darkness in these images, it's just like post-production. As a black person, painting my face would have been an insult. Then coming to this issue of cultures and all the wrong things that the visual anthropologists did to the black body because they wanted to have the perfect picture. Black people are the best subject ever happened. We are beautiful from birth to death. Somebody always see or feel the need to study that something. It's even worse when it's diseased. Then it becomes even a most resource study because somebody needs to study that thing, So I was just thinking to myself, I could do this thing for me, of myself, and be happy with me and deal with all the issues that I have to face on a daily basis. So whoever in the house that never felt doubt about themselves, I wish to learn from you. Anyway, so, and all the isms and racisms and all the wrong things that's attached to the black body, I kind of had to be kind to those situations. Speaking as a South African who grew up under a system that really divided us, from my hair to the hairs under my arms, to my pubic hairs, to everything that is hairy, I photographed because I wanted to do this self-study that is for me, not for other people's consumption. Then I ended up, having this publication. And I continue to photograph, to say to all of us who care and love visuals that let's start with ourselves first so that we understand the pain of other people being photographed. And oftentimes, photographer will say, I don't like to be in front of the camera, I prefer to be at the back. And yet, we photograph other people. It just doesn't make sense. You know, sometimes we need to dare and put ourselves in front so people will understand the pain of being in front of the camera and sometimes how it's not nice. So it's just like multi-layered. There's just like many, many issues that are attached to these self-portraits. And the portraits are taken at various places as I move around the globe, you know. And nowadays I allow people to photograph me, except that I won't allow you to photograph me naked, you know, just respecting your partner or your family. I would say to any other person who's willing to photograph me, yes, photograph me, like how I'm willing to photograph you, as long as you have done something for our LGBTQIA+ community, as long as you have a story to share, a story to educate other people, a story of care, and a story that will be archived for the future generations who will come after us.
Such a beautiful note to kind of pause on as we open up for questions from others, questions, comments, ideas. And as you do, I guess I'll just say that what you've said also makes me think about how really we all, maybe more than 10 years ago when you and I first met, we are all constantly engaged in a practice of photographing. And if I wonder what it would look like if we thought about it as documenting in the way that you're asking us to. If we thought about, you know, the power we have in our pockets to constantly take photographs as a kind of visual activism that requires the kind of political attentiveness, but also that empathy and compassion that you're talking about, you know, how would our daily kind of practices with our camera phones even look differently, right? If we were looking at things that way.
Yeah. Every tool that is able to capture an image counts. It doesn't matter whether it pixelates or not. The fact that that visual document will exist means a lot. Yeah, so please take photographs. They're very, very, very important. We need them. If you don't need them, your grandchildren or great-grandchildren need them.
That's it.
And then in 100 years from now, people will look back and say, this is my grandmother, this is my grandfather, these are my grands, regardless of their gender or sexuality. It will mean that that ancestor is a good ancestor, especially if that ancestor wasn't a hater towards others. Yeah.
I think there's a question in the back.
Oh, we could share the mic and then I could pass on so that we...
Oh, I think she has one.
You have one mic?
Yes, I just wanted to ask.
I could share this one, this side. So in that way, the distance between the... Yeah, I'll respond. Sure.
I was just curious to see if there was any type of like decisions made for yourself, deciding like which pieces or which self-portraits you were going to publish in the book and which like ones that you were going to keep to yourself. If there's any like maybe that were too personal or that you just didn't want to share. So just thinking about that.
Sure. First of all, when books are made, there is a team. So like I spoke of collaborations, yeah? There's a team from the publishing house, and then there's a team of editors that I work with, and there's a team of writers who are then given maybe an image to write on, etc., etc. And now to decide, I like to have a particular picture on the cover of the book, but then maybe Mecca would see it less strong than any other. Then we sit as a team and discuss on why that particular image should be the cover or what's not. That's one. Two, I have nothing that I'm holding back on now. Because somebody said we live on borrowed time. So if I think that it is anything that I'm holding back, I'm doing injustice to myself because I might not wake up tomorrow. So let me rather release as much as possible, you know, for people to get to enjoy these visuals with me while I'm still alive. You know, it's very, very important because what's the point of producing this content if it cannot be shared? Then now it's a matter of like where to share this information. So whatever closet that is given to me in any museum or gallery, I use it. I use it. Even if you give me the basement, I will share that basement with many other people like me. And then we start having conversations, collaborations in those respective spaces. So there's nothing that I'm holding back. I just finished shooting today. I'm shooting almost every day. And if I had enough time to fix, I would have shared the image of today. Because for me, you know, photographs are like water. You have to drink at least 1 glass of water every day. So I'm trying to practice that system to at least take 1 picture of myself daily. Some days are hard, some days are good. Today was good. Yesterday was hard. Day before, I could see possibilities. And the more I'm far away from home is the more I see better. Because I don't have to deal with my immediate issues or the country's immediate politics that I cannot fix. You know? Yeah. So I'll tell a story one day. One day. Until I got here, somebody used to say there's no racism in America. So the more I travel to different states and cities, that's where I'm compelled to produce images that speak to that particular issue. I'll share a picture that I took in Charlottesville. And I was haunted, I couldn't sleep, I had nightmares. And this is the picture. Somebody said it's in one of the pages here. It's called Bona, and it's taken in Charlottesville. There was no way that I couldn't share this image. And somebody said, do you know the hotel where you stay, it's more than 100 years old. And the minute you think like 100 years old, you're thinking of like spirits and ghosts and torture and a space that is haunting because of the spirits that were never recalled by families and many other things. So I could say, the more I travel, it's the more I get to learn one thing or two, and I get excited, get exhausted, but always have something newer to produce. And I've been to North Carolina. The images that I took in those spaces that have trees, that have a past, never resolved, are better images than images that are taken at home. So I don't know if I responded to your question.
No, that was great.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My question is, like, what is your process when preparing for these photos, especially like now learning more insight about like you taking site-specific photos, and just like some of your images are very like charging, like emotionally. Like, what is your process in preparing to take those photos? And even like what you're saying, like for some of them just being in these places that sometimes have very deep or dark histories, like getting out of that space after you've taken the photo, since you are like personifying, it's like yourself, but also like a character like in these photos. Cause it's very like, even though you have photos, to me it is like documenting performance art in a sense. So did that make sense? Like your process, like preparing for these photos and even like initially afterwards once they're done. Did that make sense? Okay, thank you. Sorry, I'm over talking.
No, it's okay. Please, anybody who has a question, even if we end up being 5 or 10 in this room, it's okay. Yeah, but don't leave this room without asking a question. And don't DM me. Ask now. And it's a nice small group, and it's nice and intimate. Ask now. Yeah. Anyways, just thinking hard now. But I'm trying to simplify this thing as if I was speaking to my grandchildren. I don't like the word performance. It's like the word art. Art is not taken serious. And then performance now is like we are playing, literally. I don't know what's the word that we could use to parallel or to be equivalent to the term performance. And I don't even want to complicate performativity like how scholars do. It's simple. Anyway, the process, most of the time I have to be frustrated. Second off, I have to listen to people's stories, the small talk that people share. And oftentimes I don't hear or understand what people are saying if I don't record the information, because I forget easily. But then, like, the more you talk, the more you say things to the next person. Then I'll be walking down the road and I see like a homeless person. That is a story. For that person, also, that's my story. That's our reality. That's the system. Then I go back to the house and I start looking for objects and little things that make sense to speak to what I have seen. Sometimes it's like immediate, sometimes not. Sometimes it's like delayed information that I have to deal with. But to say I prepare, sometimes I don't need to prepare. I'll wake up in the morning, I'll take a bath, or before I even take a bath, I might have had a dream that I don't remember. And then I'll try to remember by fidgeting and do things and end up delaying many other people, because I'm still trying to find this thing that would make me happy that day. So for me, happiness is based on having captured something, in the most profound way, So to say, like, prepping, I didn't have to prep much this morning. Every time after washing my hair, I wash my hair every 2 weeks. Every time after washing my hair, I look better. It's like something happens to your scalp and it pulls your face and everything is kind of like in shape. So then those are best portraits that I take. And then the following day, the hair is still wet because I don't dry my hair. And then the third day, the hair is kind of like getting dry. But as this hair is drying, there's a story behind the meaning of long black hair, the meaning of dreadlocks, the stigma attached to black hair, and also how black people with dreadlocks are stigmatized by the system and all those who decide on what should be done and what not. Then it leads to another question, and then it leads to another argument, and it carries on and on and on and on and on. But then I have to go back to something, sit down with a team of people and try to articulate myself, and I show this work and present it. I speak to my sister, who is an artist but never practiced but produce most of what I do, what I need. And then I'll speak to my neighbor. Then I'll think of, like, once upon a time when I was young and never thought that the world would become this, never thought that it was possible for a black person to have a book. It just brings a whole lot of memories that makes me feel like crying. And then the tears won't come because my eyes are dry, because I have a condition of dry eyes. But then I cry with my heart. It is from those unseen tears that I'm able to produce this image that will move the next person who might be in a better state, or who is capable of crying, or who's able of crying, or who is gifted with tears. So it's a whole lot. It's a whole lot. Whenever I produce work, I play gospel music, and I will play Benjamin Dube over and over again. I will capture best images as I listen to praise songs, and those songs then shapes the final picture. I listen to my favorite musician, Zonke, and she has this loving, lovely song that moves me. I could say for each and every trip, for each and every, photo produced, it's the South African music that keeps me going in a way. So it's never even like the preparations per se, but it's just past issues, past experiences sometimes, or immediate issue, or what I've seen this morning that leads to that particular image. Yeah. In that way, it's not performance. It's my reality as how I have seen it or have experienced it.
Hi, thank you so much. It's been wonderful to hear you speak. I'm a figurative sculptor, and so I have a particular interest in your transition from being, predominantly a photographer to making figurative works of yourself. And so if there's opportunity here about about that journey for you. And also I spent extended time in South Africa, so it's close to my heart, and hopefully I'll get to go back soon. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Where in South Africa?
It's a long story, but it's my home. It's my other home. Yeah, I spent a few years there.
Where in South Africa?
Oh, I was in Joburg first, and then spent 2 years in Cape Town.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I live in Cape Town.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah.
Not that I love Cape Town. Yeah, Cape Town is beautiful. It's dominantly white, and then now there's a lot of gentrification, and all the beautiful places that we're supposed to be sharing equally, we can't afford them anymore. That's the downfall. Other than that, Cape Town is beautiful. So I was in LA, and somebody said, "What do you think of LA? You like to live here?" I said, "No." No, I live in Cape Town. And I said, "Do you know Cape Town?" He said, "Oh, last time I was in Cape Town was in 2010. I said, "That was 15 years ago. So much has changed. You should come again." Anyways, thank you for being from home. Thank you for knowing that there's that part of the world that exists. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Some of my work is produced in Cape Town, in Johannesburg, in Durban. I'm born in Durban and spent most of my life in Johannesburg. And currently, I'm exiled in Cape Town. Yeah. Yeah. Do you want me to respond to anything?
Oh, I'd love to hear about the figurative sculpture.
Oh, the sculptures. Okay, I'm a photographer and I do many other things. I'm learning to speak now. Maybe I could write poetry as well. I sculpt nowadays because I basically wanted to expand my practice, to learn other things, to learn from other people, to complicate things, to simplify things, because not many black people are able to sculpt, even though they are good at it, but then it's expensive. It's very, very expensive, you know. Others are good at it, but then materials become so expensive, especially if people are not funded or commissioned to do those pieces. And it's like that. I don't know, maybe I might be wrong, Tara. You have good people with good ideas, but there are no resources for them to execute them. You have the best artists in the world who are doing it, but then there are no spaces for them to show it. Then it becomes a futile exercise for most people and they end up giving up. So I sculpt these days like life sizes. And it's been good. I have a piece at La Louvre in Paris. I'm not bragging. I'm saying this because of the systems that deny us access to these spaces. Yeah, so I have sculpture pieces at various places now. Then I just decide, like the following day, I want to sculpt, and there's a figure that is missing of us in those spaces. They said these monuments, and these movements, and these moments, and these ornaments, and the mends, we need to mend them. I'm doing it now, because I think with the little resources I have, I could afford to produce it. Other than that, before, it was impossible. I'm working on a big sculpture piece now, which will be my Christmas present, because it's missing in many public spaces that I've been to. It needs to be produced. I, unfortunately, do not get any commissions. Not that I'm worried, I'm not even worried anymore. I'm doing my thing. Yeah, I'm doing my thing. And we're working on a big project right now. I'm bidding as well. Yeah, which I've done before and I stopped and then I'm going back to it. Sometimes when I short of ideas of taking the images that I want to capture, I shift focus, and I'll do something else. And then I'll collaborate with other teams to realize a special project and. Yeah. Thanks.
So I think we have time for one more question, and also just keep in mind that Zanele will be signing copies, so if you have more that you want to chat about, there'll be an opportunity to do that in a few minutes.
All right, no pressure for the good last question, right? Hi, evening, I'm Melissa Maru. I'm a curator working in social change, and the words of archiving has stuck with me in your talk, and I'm curious if you feel most response, resonance, change, action, something tangible, any kind of shift of thought, or when you feel a little bit of pride, progress, movement, anything of that sentiment. Is it always through conversation dialogue like we're having now? Is it through the narratives that are written in research? Do you feel that the visual does that? Like, when do you have that, yeah, this is moving the meter moment in all the different elements of your practice? Thanks.
Please, Beth, please give the mic back.
Okay.
Could you please ask me in one sentence?
One sentence.
And simplify it.
Yes, the simple version is, when do you feel the change happening in your work? Is it in research, in visual, or in the narratives that are in response to your work?
All of the above. In research, of course, but when I feel good when I work with other people, to be honest, because being alone is lonely. And it doesn't matter how much of research we could, work on. It's always better when there are people. Even when that research is done with people. Even when that narrative is shared and discussed, and then conversations take place, as long as it's done, with other people, it feels much better. I'm happy when I see the final product, when I see the work on the walls exhibited, when conversations take place and dialogue created in many ways. I'm happy. And also to say, most of what I produce is not about me, it's never about me. I wish that I could create spaces for as many people as much as possible. Then in that way, I'm speaking alongside many other folks who are as creative as possible, Because I don't think that I'm the best of anything. There are people who have done it better, but never had an opportunity or never had opportunity to be recognized, to be heard in many ways. So the more we speak together, especially if there's no toxic energies shared, because sometimes we are a problem. We are our own problem before other people, oppress us. We as Black people, as people of color, we become our own problems, especially if we cannot come together and collaborate and care for each other. I mean, who do we expect that will care for us if we don't do it for ourselves, to ourselves? And once say these people are racist, they will continue to be racist because they're able to divide us. So for me, the best moments is when I'm with you, where I share thought and no idea is stolen, Instead, we execute together. We say, this is our book. It might have my name in it, but it's our book if your name is there. And not wrongly spelled. Accurately, correctly, So it's as simple as that. I don't even want to mention another race, but there are races that are able to stick together. And they do it together until another cousin buys a home then that cousin leaves a home. But they stay together as a family of 10, 15, and they wait for the cousin to buy a home or build a home, and that home also has other cousins and so on. It's nice like that. To say, as I speak with you, I'm not speaking to a black American. Yes, you know, under whatever systems, you might say I'm black American. There's something that I saw when I made an appointment yesterday here in America. I made an appointment to see the minutes doctor, whatever, at CVS. And they said, what's your race? Hispanic, Latino, black American, black. I'm like, what? But it's here in this country. I don't know what purpose, honestly. Or maybe Latino blood, black blood. But there's nothing that says white. I took a picture. It's like down the road here, the DuPont circle, number 6 DuPont circle, the CVS. I took a picture. This is how I remind myself of things. Then I send them home to say, you won't believe this. It's deeper than classifications of race, because in South Africa you had white people, colored people, Indian people, and black people. These were the 4 classes of race, classifications of race. Yeah, it's almost 10. Anyway, so to say, as you ask your question, I have a proposal. I have a group of women who are good photographers. I have a project, seeing that now you're talking about social justice. I could give you a presentation even for you to process. There are projects that are done by people who are amazing, who are best thinkers. They just need spaces in which they could be in conversation with other people who will learn from them. Yeah. So it's so good to be here. I'm coming back. And I'll be having an exhibition at this museum, a solo exhibition.
I mean, that's a mic drop moment. I feel like that's really the best note to end on. Thank you again to the museum, to Tara, to you, Zanele. Thank you all for being part of this conversation. I think we'll be downstairs, or?
We're actually, if you're staying for the book signing, we'll line up right here, and then we'll begin the signing. Thanks all for coming, and thank you, Mecca and Zanele.
Sure. To the technical team, guys, thank you so much. You matter. There's no one like you. Yeah. Thank you.